boys and girls. What's up? Hello. Are the drops over, by the way? I think they are. I'm the only person that I see with drops in my title. Alright, let's take that shit out. I'm just making shit up. Absolutely making shit up. This is an inclusive stream. It is. Wholly much louder than usual. Huh? Are you bugged? I think you're bugged. Certainly you're bugged. Did anyone watch the MDI? Was that cool? Was that sweet? There was an arms warrior in there. Oh, shit. Some boss damage build. Closer than expected. Alright, fuck yeah. Yeah, I did my last skate before leaving town. I need to make sure I do like some core and leg work over the weekend or else I'm gonna blow up. How's the shoulder? I've gained a ton of mobility back in my shoulder, but there's still like there's one angle where it's real bad. I still can't shoot at all. Top teams hit their giga strats as usual. All right, fuck yeah. Wait, what were the key levels even? I imagine like 10s maybe, 9s. I feel like that would make the most sense. 9/11. Oh, never forget. Fucking never forget. Did you fuck the rotator cuff? Yeah, I did. Yeah. We're talking about that now tweet, right? Huh? I'm not familiar. The 9/11? Oh. No, I just like read 9/11 and then I was filled with patriotism and I had to remember so I could never forget. I can feel like every day I get slightly more mobility. And I'm definitely risking it a little bit doing some skating work, but I just have to. I'd get out of shape and then I'd blow up. Can't blow up, man. Blowing up is fucking bad. I didn't even know there was a now 9/11 tweet. Yeah. There was. It was crazy. Let's look back at the old tournament here. I guess let me look at the bracket. This is from the Golden Saucer, right? Is that where this song is from? Oh no, it's like the Chocobo song, I think. Alright, let's see what we got here. MDI. Okay, Perplexed beats Casp's Angels. I did tune into this before I left this morning, and this was the one that was on. Was there a remake? I think I remember reading something about a remake in the chat. Those always hit close to home for me. I've been absolutely fucked by a remake before, and it was so bad. Probably doesn't matter, though. Like, a 1 versus 8 seed in the MDI with how few good teams are playing is... I mean, that's just a... should be a slaughter, but... who knows? Let's see. How much they beat them by. Oh, yeah. They finished the last boss before they finished the third boss. And... yeah, they were, like, basically a boss ahead of them here. Makes sense. Oh, Dire Wolves are back. I forgot about them. They 2-1'd Brain on cooldown. Who is Brain on cooldown? I don't recognize any of those people. Okay. Missed Count, I think, is the same team, right? The Kira and AJ team. And I think Crims joined them. And Yargi, I remember him as... wasn't Yargi a mage? But I mean, like, you just don't play mage right now. Oh, there's an Arms Warrior. What the fuck? Okay, well, the Arms Warrior team got 2-0'd. And then Polish Mountain got beat by team name. Who's Polish Mountain? I don't recognize any of those people. Okay, and other team, I don't know. Okay, cool. Hearthjax was the mage? Oh, you're right. Yeah, Yargi was the other guy. Cool. Fuck yeah. How long did it take? How long was the games? Team name is a random French group. 4.5 hours. Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to make that. Hopefully the co-stream was cool though. Who was co-streaming? Who was the gang? Did you see Automatic Jack's manifesto on Mythic Plus? Nah, of course not. Dude, we had a sick potty C this week though. Is it out yet? We actually had a really good one. Dorky, Miraz, Gingy, and now. Oh yeah, that. Yeah, okay. It's out? Oh shit. Oh shit. .3-second loss on Arakara for Polish. Shit. Oh, my shoulder's fucking killing me. All right, let's make it to the keyboard. All right, we can do that. I'm trying to find a way to entertain myself during the flight, and I've came up with. I have like some movies on an iPad. It's like a 5-hour flight. It's also at 7 in the morning though, so I might be able to sleep if I'm a huge beast. I got that going. I do have some sleeping drugs. Those are nice. Where are you going? I'm just going home. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and my sister's going to be there this weekend, and I told them I'd find a way to be there this weekend. So I'm going to be there from Saturday to Tuesday. Melatonin is a game changer. Oh, melatonin's some fucking casual sleep help shit. Bro, we got that cocktail going. When I really need to fall asleep, I hit like 2 milligrams of like actual melatonin. A lot of the places you get it from in stores, it's like it's not really regulated, so you can't tell the purity. Like if you've ever taken like a 10 milligram thing of melatonin, which by the way is way too much fucking, you should never take that much melatonin. That is a completely extreme amount. But most of the ones that sell 10 and 5, it's not actually that much. It's like really shitty. You gotta hit that fucking pure shit. But if you can get like pure 2 grams of melatonin, that's good. And then I hit that doxylamine or whatever, and then I hit even one more if I have to. You get like the NyQuil drug, and then you get the Benadryl drug. Fucking hit both of those things. Slam it with a melatonin, you're going out for sure. I've never been to Kentucky. I'm a UK viewer, but my sister lives in Colorado, and we went to Louisville last year and really loved it. Yeah, Louisville's a fucking sweet, sweet town. Super cool. Loved growing up there. It's like really diverse. Not super, for being in Kentucky, it wasn't super southern. Honestly, it felt like most major cities. It was really, really nice. Got to meet a lot of people. Like, maybe that's why I think people who grew up in certain parts of this country are like completely averse to people who grew up, like, if you grew up in a city, maybe you just can't relate to people who grew up in a rural place, or maybe vice versa. Like, you grew up in a rural place and you just can't stand city people. You just don't understand them. I think in Louisville, it was actually really good growing up there because you got to see an incredible amount of diversity. Like, in our high school, middle school, and you just encountered all kinds of people, and also you encountered rural people who drove into the city, and you encountered city people, and you got to know and relate to both of them. And I think that's like kind of important in our current state of our country, because that's not happening right now. Rural, that's what I hear. How are you supposed to say it? Rural? It's rural? I don't know. Rural is kind of, it is weird to say though. Yeah. Is KFC better in Kentucky or what? Nah. It's just like a fast food place. We don't like celebrate KFC. I don't know. It is funny though. That is how like the entire world knows Kentucky. If you tell someone in any other country, especially like an Asian country, East Asia or something, like you will the first thing they will ask you when they find out you're from Kentucky is KFC, because it's just like they just know. Is the fried chicken just better? I don't think so. The best fried chicken I've had is in Texas and Nashville. Personally. The Kentucky Derby goes hard, though. Yeah, the Kentucky Derby doesn't have that special place in its heart for me. My dad's actually a horse handicapper. He's really into that shit. So we've been like, I've seen the inside and out of Churchill Downs. My college apartment used to be a like 10-minute walk from there, basically. Actually, maybe like a 20-minute walk. Is pretty long. Really close drive. But yeah, I've been there like all the time. He handicaps horses. Yeah, it's kind of a weird term. It does kind of sound like he injures horses and makes them handicapped, which would be a crazy job. Like, why would someone need to do that? No, it means like you're good at betting on horses. You are good at reading you study and research the horses and know what kind of tracks they're good at, whether it's muddy or like super fair weather. And it's like a very, very educated horse gambler is what I describe a horse handicapper as. So basically he has a FanDuel account. No, I don't think he has FanDuel or DraftKings. He's just, I mean, he like offshore betted for years, mostly on horses, but he's like really good at it. And he's not like a degenerate gambler. He just does it for entertainment. What is it? Maybe I'm weird, but when I think of Kentucky, the first thing I think of is a Louisville Slugger. Oh yeah, the bats. I mean, every time I've gone back to Louisville and I'm ever with somebody, like a girlfriend or a friend that's come, like I always take them to the Louisville Slugger Museum. It's a little old for me though. It doesn't mean anything. You go in there, you see them make the bats. They tell you which players they're making them for, and then they give you like a little souvenir bat. We have like fucking 50 of those things at the house. I don't know. It's kind of whatever. Like it's It's cool. What is it? But it's not that. He calls his addiction a pro career. I mean, I guess you could call it that. But low key, that's like kind of what I did. So that goes hard. Runs in the family, I guess. Well, it's also not his career. He was like a regional director for the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, for a very long time, like 20 or 30 years. He would like his job would be like he'd be home most of the time, but every now and then he'd go away for like a week or two to clean up some train would spill and like a bunch of chemicals would get spilled, and his job was to go be someone leading the charge on cleaning up that for the environment, stuff like that. So your dad is Greta Thunberg. Nah, he's not like a huge climate activist. It was just his job. You know. Dude, I need that Geratino W right and left kind of emote. That shit goes insane. Dude, I tried playing some games last night. I downloaded Dragon Age Veilguard. And I played like 30 minutes of it and kind of put it down. I think I might try to get back into it because I spent money on it, so like sunk cost fallacy. But the mage combat seemed really, really fun, but there's something about the combat that's a little off for me. I'm not sure. And it's already a game that's like not super likely that I would get into personally, because I think Dragon Age games are all about like the lore and the choices and all of that shit. And that's something that I've never cared about ever. It's hard to tell. That game looks ass. It's oversaturated. I heard it's bad. Yeah, I tried to like give it a fair shake on my own, because when I started looking into a lot of the criticism of the game, it was really hard to decipher, because a lot of it seemed like it was a bunch of like culture war idiots talking about like DEI and shit. And then as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, well now it's like extremely hard to see if there's any fair criticism of this game, because like people are really mad that they were selective with review copies, which I don't really care about. And there's a crowd of people that think the game is woke, as they say, and go woke, go broke and stuff. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, so I have no idea if people actually don't like the game or if they're just like doing that whole thing. So I thought I would get into it and try it, see if it's actually good or bad. How many games of this style have to fail before we start accepting DEI stuff is actually real? Oh my god. That's good. Asmon's title is Woken It today. That's fucking beautiful. I will say the combat kind of the mage combat kind of feels like Hogwarts Legacy a little bit, in a good way. Actually, I don't know if you guys... that was another game people were upset about, but like the opposite kind of people were upset about that game. But that game was fucking sick. That game was a fucking banger. The combat in that game was awesome. So I was really like, dude, I started looking at I was thinking I wanted to play a rogue, I guess, and I started fucking around with it a little bit, and then I like was like, okay, I'll watch one of those YouTube videos where someone like breaks down what class you should play and why, and like what they play like, bro. And I saw maybe one of the best YouTube videos I've ever seen in my life. Dude, I actually want to shout this guy out. He probably doesn't need it. Like, maybe he's like a huge YouTuber or something, but let me see. Let me see if I can find what video it was. If I can go back on my YouTube here. Nah, history. This, bro. This guy named
Then we can
Boomstick Gaming. Like, if you were someone who wanted to watch what class to play in a new game and there was options there, this is one of the best videos I've ever seen. It was so concise. Like, no minute of this 15 minutes was wasted. This is one of the best videos for what it's trying to do ever. Basically, he just, like, goes through, shows you the gameplay for each one of these classes and, like, how it looks, like, some intricate stuff, how the skill trees work and stuff. It all looks pretty cool. And then it is really cool. Honestly, the combat in this game is sick. It seems sick. Although I couldn't get into it for whatever reason. I'm going to try again. And then at the end of it, he does this. So, and I thought it was super helpful. Listen.
see, you're going to love the mage. If you're into the juggle between melee and throwing out magical signs in The Witcher, you might also like the mage's playstyle. Another magic-infused melee combat system was in Final Fantasy XVI, and if you like that, you're probably going to enjoy Veilguard's mage.
And then he did that
Now
for a lot of different classes, and I've never thought about doing it like that. And that was such a relevant... And I had played most of the games they were referring to, and it made my selection of class, like, so much easier. Anyways, just wanted to randomly shout out that content creator guy. That was a absolutely banger video, so... How is the new Dragon Age if you are a combat enjoyer and skip every dialogue option? That's me. That is how I play games. Even though I did try to not skip a little bit, like, part of me wishes I wasn't a cutscene skipper, right? Because, like, if all you're doing is trying to be entertained, like, if you don't skip cutscenes and you're actually invested in the story in some way, you know, it's just gonna entertain you for longer, I guess. So it's like, if you can watch cutscenes and be entertained by it, it's objectively a good thing. But I just have never... I don't know what it is. Like, I obviously like gameplay better. People are different. But, like, I mean, I like good storytelling. I love good movies. I absolutely love, like, really well-made, like, prestige TV shows. But I can't watch stuff that isn't really well-made. I get out of it really quick. And most video game storytelling, to me, while I do think video games is an interesting way to tell a story, man, there might be like 2 or 3 games ever that I've been invested in the story at all in video games. I just feel like it's not at the quality of a really well-made movie or TV show yet. Personally. Max, did you ever play Lies of P? No, I didn't, actually. I also haven't played the new Elden Ring DLC, which would be fun. Which games did you like the story for? I got into The Last of Us. Last of Us 1 and 2. Shit, what's another game? I mean, those are 2 games, but even then, like, The Last of Us TV show, 360 windmill dunk, backflip, like, just destroy. It's so much better. Like your intake of the story is infinitely better in a medium like that really well-made Last of Us TV show than it is via those games. And I loved those games, but the TV show fucking shits on it, right? It's just so much better. God of War. Yeah, see, God of War, I was a gameplay Andy for sure. Fallout TV show owned. Yep, love the Fallout TV show. Never paid attention to any Fallout lore or anything, ever. Arcane is awesome. Yeah, Arcane's alright. It's okay. I'm not a big anime guy. Arcane! Oh my god. Arcane! New Silo in a couple weeks. Oh, nice. I really liked Silo season. Actually, okay, I loved Silo season 1. Absolutely loved it. But as soon as it got into, like the second season, or sorry, okay, it's really hard to not spoil this. When I saw the end of the first season, which was great. I feel like, and this is exactly how I feel about Severance too. It's gonna be really, really hard to land the plane, and in my opinion, like make super interesting seasons after that. Although, I've heard the books were really good after that, so it's it's possible. But I just kind of it's suspicious to me. Same thing with Severance, bro. Severance season 1, absolute turbo banger. The end of season 1, insane, crazy cliffhanger. It's gonna be surprising to me how good season 2 will be, in my opinion. Kind of like Westworld. Like, Westworld is one of the best season 1s of all time. Like, if you haven't seen season 1 Westworld, watch it and then stop. But like, as soon as Westworld season 1 was over, it was kind of obvious, if you thought about it, that season 2 or 3 like could never live up to what season 1 was doing. Ever. It's impossible. That element of mystery is no longer there, and it's just not. It's a different kind of show. It's not a. It's kind of hard. I don't want to spoil it, but it's kind of like, it's like, are they going to be able to get out? Are they going to realize they're in like a simulation or whatever? And then as soon as that's explored, it's like them being out or whatever just is it's a different kind of show, and it's not proven whether they're good at that, you know? Like, it's just, they're trying to do something completely different, and oftentimes it's really hard to do that. That kind of spoiled it a little bit, but it's also like, how old is Westworld? Like 8 years or something? I feel like that's past the statute of limitations, or however you'd determine it being okay to spoil something. Actually, I don't know. There's really old stuff that you should never spoil, right? Like, you should never spoil someone's first time watch of Fight Club, for example, or like Shutter Island, or Seven, or The Usual Suspects, you know, stuff like that. Like, those are ones where like you would insanely destroy. Like, spoilers have such a massive impact. How they fumbled Westworld still makes me mad. Dude, I don't even think Westworld was a fumble. I mean, I guess, like, if fumbling it meant, like, okay, they were going to make season... I don't think it was possible with the source material they had to make Westworld Season 2 and 3 as good as they made Season 1. Now, I think they probably did Season 1 as good as they could have possibly done it. But, like, I just don't even think what you're trying to do just isn't as good, you know? I don't even think they fumbled. It's just, like, you can't make something out of nothing, you know? You couldn't even finish the first season of Westworld? Damn, really? Maybe our interests are really different, but oh, dude, Westworld was a fucking time. Wasn't Westworld, like, if I remember correctly, a lot of people watched Westworld because that was when Game of Thrones was in its heyday, and it was like the Sunday night show after. So like, everyone in the world is like watching Game of Thrones every Sunday, and that was before HBO Max, so you like actually had to watch it on HBO, and everyone watched it at the same time. And then like, Westworld was really advertised during that, and then it started right after one of the seasons of Game of Thrones, I think. So like, everyone started watching it. It's arguably one of the greatest single season of any show of all time. That's a extremely subjective thing, but I would agree with you. Yeah, I think Westworld season 1 is probably as good as anything I've seen. Ted Lasso is a great TV show as well. Yeah, Ted Lasso is good, but in a totally different way. I feel like you'd watch Ted Lasso for a completely different reason than you'd ever watch any of those like prestige drama or suspense shows that we're talking about. You know what I mean? Like, Ted Lasso is you can be in a completely different mood and watch Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso makes you feel like every emotion in a good way. It's a feel good. I mean, it's a feel good, and it makes you feel some sad sometimes too, you know? Have you watched Peaky Blinders? No, I haven't, but I'm sure I've never even tried it. I've never seen one episode. Murphy's obviously a beast. So maybe it's good. I don't know. I'm not usually into the period gang stuff. Actually, that's not really true. I liked Gangs of New York. I like a lot of old like mafia films. Actually, like kind of all of them. Like I've liked them all. But have you been watching The Penguin? Yeah, it's good. Did you like the show Lost, Max? I watched like a couple episodes of Lost and couldn't get into it. I mean, I kind of got into it, but I think I didn't watch it back in the day. So watching it now is a little harder. Like, that's one of the shows where, unfortunately, the production quality is, like, noticeably a little worse than, like, a really good TV show nowadays. Not to say that it doesn't mean it's not good or enjoyable, but, like, I think when you watch it 20 years later, like, it's definitely a hurdle you have to jump over to get into it, for some stuff. But I could, could try maybe. If you guys want to get into Lost, I did find an excellent podcast companion, though. I think it's called, like, The Calm Before the Storm or something like that. And it's Joanna Robinson and another podcaster who are really good. And they do, like, a podcast and it's a dual podcast. Like, the first half of it are for first-time watchers of Lost. And then they tell you to, like, not tune in. For the second half, they're like, if you guys haven't seen all of Lost, don't continue any further. And then the back half of the podcast is going over. It's going over like, yeah, like so. This probably isn't like super. I haven't even seen Lost, but I know this. But Lost is like all the episodes are in different order. So like once you've watched all of Lost, like initially, like it's good for a rewatch because you like see extra stuff, and so it's really good podcast material. Or, like, chronologically, things are different. There's basically a lot of twists, and you learn some stuff along the way that makes rewatching it really valuable. It's like a really good rewatch show. And the podcast exists for new watchers and for rewatchers, and it's really good. They aren't out of order. Okay, my bad. Max, new Grom banger in Discord Twitch Clips channel. Is it... Okay, what kind of Grom banger? Because Grom bangers used to be like he just screamed and like it was funny because he's yelling. But now a Grom banger could be like him saying some pretty bad stuff. It's kind of changed. The vibes changed a little bit. Is it like the funny big guy yelling funny, or is it the other one? Failing mechanic and yelling. All right, a classic. All right, let's watch this. Okay, so he's doing Mythic Ansarek. Wait, what is happening at the beginning? How is he not getting a ring? I guess he just landed. Okay.
Okay, dude. Like, can we... No!
I'm going to turn it down a little bit. I'm a veteran Grom clip watcher.
No! No! No!
All right, how could he... That is pretty good. That is pretty good. Okay, what could he have done differently? Let's see. So he's here. I guess you kind of have to, like, aggressively... So what we do in our strat is we have all of the circle people go far so everyone else can dodge through the waves. But it looks like one of their players doesn't dodge far, which prevents all of their melee. And it's, like, kind of not obvious when they're blowing up, so it prevents all of their melee from dodging through the waves. So he's, like, running away. Yeah, like, this guy totally caused this to happen. You either, if you're this person, you need to, like, aggressively dodge in the waves and get the fuck out of their way, or you need to go far. This, like, halfway in thing just screwed everybody, because now look at all of these people. These two things are converging, so this isn't safe. If you can make enough speed, that's safe, but it's also, there's a web there for some reason, which is like, that's a huge misplay. Like, no one should have put a web there. So now your only play is to like double back around to the right, which is running away from the boss, which is probably not what your muscle memory is used to every pull. And the only safe spot is diving around and then probably back through here. So I'm sure a few of them probably make that decision.
Oh, no!
Or I guess you could wait for that thing. He made the worst possible decision.
No! No, no! 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 No!
Yeah, dude, so Grom's going to get made fun of, and he could have definitely made that better. He didn't have a leap to, like, save himself here. I guess he could have... Nah, they one-shot. Could he have gotten hit by one of them, Enraged Regen, Spell Reflect, and then Healthstone? Maybe, but then he's, like, probably dead to one of the rests, maybe. Yeah, but... that guy definitely killed him. He didn't have to die, but the majority of the fault is on this guy. He made, like, 10 people, 15 people's job way harder. Max, did you see Velocity, Smurf, and Surek? Yeah, I did. I don't even know how I look at that, but Velocity did Silken Court and 70 the guild Velocity, which is Telegon. He's an analyst for our guild, and he like runs that guild as a project of his. I think it has one current Liquid Raider in it on an alt. Boomy is doing it. And then other than that, it's just people who signed up. I think there's some ex-Liquid Raiders there. I think Preheat and Zyronic are in the guild. But other than that, they're just people who signed up to join. If you guys remember, I like retweeted and helped promote it a couple... it was like a year ago, I think. I think they've done like 2 raids now. But yeah, they actually did like really good. I don't know if they have the lowest pull counts of anyone. I don't know how you even look at this. Raids, progress. Maybe you could look at specifically Queen Ansurek. And then you can see, where's Velocity on here? Is Velocity... Oh, there's more than 50 guilds. That's why. Okay, Velocity killed it World 68th. They killed it... 632. Where can you see like the amount of pulls? Well, they public logged it. Oh, if they have full public logs, then you'd be able to go back and see. Oh, they had a Shadow Priest top on their kill. That's interesting. Is it Raider IO that shows the... Yeah, I think it's Raider IO. It's like raid rankings, and you have to just go next 3 times. Oh, there we go. They were the first there. Velocity. This doesn't include some of the Chinese teams. That's why, Okay, so you can look at... Hopefully it has, like, their progression graph. Encounter graphs. Yeah, encounter graphs. There we go. So on Silken Court, they killed the boss from 100 to 0 in 76 pulls. And it looks like they killed it in 14 pulls from seeing the last set of casts, which is... Actually, that's a pretty reasonable thing. That actually, from 62 to 77 or whatever it was, that's actually a realistic good amount of time, I think, from killing it from the first time you see the double damage amp. But they did the rest of this really fast. They did P2 really fast, and they did P3 really fast, and then they had like a normal amount of time. But 77, I think, is a really, really good fucking job for Ansurek, or for Silken Court. And then Ansurek, they killed yesterday. Let's look at this. I mean, that's 147 pulls. So sub 150 pulls for Ansurek Pro Snurf. That is definitely really fucking good. Let's look at the guilds that are around them. So, like, Idiot killed it after them. Let's look at their encounter graphs. What a guild name, Idiot. So, Idiot kills it in 322. And I think probably all of their pulls are post-nerf as well. 2 weeks ago is when they killed Silken, so most of it is post-nerf. I don't remember the exact time. The guilds who killed it before them, I think Dorky's guild killed it. What's Dorky's guild called? You guys know? What is Dorky's guild name? Humble. Where's Humble? Are they even higher ranked? They're fit. Did I miss them? Oh, I did miss them. Oh, they're blue. That's fun. I guess guilds aren't even alliance or horde now. Maybe they are. Does it depend on the guild leader? Okay, so they killed Queen Anstrek a day ago as well. Let's look at their encounter. Oh, can you not see their encounter graphs? Okay, well, Dorky told me last night. I think it was like 200 or 250 pulls. Something like that. And they did all of their pulls post-nerf. I think they did like one pull or something pre-nerf. It was like the day before. I think they did Silken Court and even more, though. It was like 270 for Silken. Dude, why can't you look at their encounter graphs? Do they competition mode their logs? It doesn't matter if you private log. Like, private log, they'll still show up here. Like, for example, we private log infinitely, and you can see all of our encounter graphs. See what melee mechanics did. Do they have theirs? Okay, you can see theirs. See, 288. Bro, fucking Telegon's guild fucking smurfed. Has anyone killed it in less than 147 pulls? Dude, this is crazy. They killed Silken Court a week ago, too. And then Velocity killed it in like half the amount of time, basically. That's actually crazy. Maybe I'm wrong. Do they have more Liquid Raiders than Velocity? Maybe I'm full of shit. I thought it was just Boomy. So Boomy. Oh, they have Relo. He's like... Relo's, you guys probably know him for his weak auras, but he raids at a really high level in an EU guild. And he's like playing enhanced for them. So that's definitely someone who's like clearing this for the second time. And that's it. I think... So Relo and Boomy are the only people who are like... You know, they've already killed the boss and fully progressed it on a different character. And everyone else, 18 people were doing it for the first time. That's still crazy, though. Like, doing it... It's probably just like a preparation diff. I bet if there's something that guild does better is like Telegon is around for our progression, right? So like, I bet, and I don't know this, I've never interacted with this guild, but I bet their guild shows up like very prepared to raid. And I don't mean like on an individual level, like even at like the officer level, I bet they just have their systems and assignments in place like before raid starts, and I bet that just matters a lot. That guild all lost in damage to their Shadow Priest. Yeah, that was super interesting. I wonder... So what were they doing? What kind of... Was that boss damage? I mean, so not really. I'm assuming it's like P2 ads. So not the summoned acolytes, but the chamber acolytes. Okay, actually, no, that's mostly Zyronic. Okay. So I'm assuming it's just they smurf... What the fuck was the Shadow Priest? Was the Shadow Priest banging the roots? The shackles? What the fuck was the Shadow Priest doing? Skitterer damage? No. It's not summoned acolytes, because... Is it P1 intermission damage? Oh, it's a ton in the intermission, yeah. I mean, it doesn't look like he really carried on anything. It just looks like he did really good to everything. Like, really good intermission, really good overall boss damage, really good, or like decent acolyte damage, good P2 chamber acolyte damage. What about the P2 ads? What are those called? They're like the... It's the Expeller and the Guardian, right? So Guardian... Oh, you only get one Guardian on the range side. So is it like, okay, so he was doing a ton of damage to the Expeller. What about the guy, what's the guy's name who's channeling the shield? Is it the Worshipper? Okay, those are mages. Yeah, it's pretty normal. Their cooldowns line up for that. I guess the Shadow Priest just did like enough to everything. Did like literally 0 root damage too. Dude, doing 0 root damage. Although it looks like they... No, they definitely got some... Oh, that's crazy, by the way. That prepared guy was the one who made me look at this. I didn't realize that he's in that guild. So he actually like self-fucking humble bragged in the chat to look at this. He caused all of this to happen. That's crazy. Yeah, that's good. Let's see who did damage on our last... We one-shot it last week. We're doing ours later in the week here. When did we do our last Ansurek? Did we not log it? When did we... It wasn't this Wednesday. It would have been... When the fuck did... Oh, here it is. I think, is this the last time we did it? Yeah. Okay. So, Queen Ansurek Mythic. And Silken Court. 2 one-shots. Absolute banger shit right there. Alright, who piped on our Queen Ansurek kill? That's pretty good. Was this the day after the patch as well? I think it was, right? I wonder if people had weird cooldown timings because you just didn't know when... You just didn't... Like, this was the first time I think we killed it before the ring. No, it's the second time. Alright, what about boss damage? Who's owning the boss? Probably Malarkus. Oh, yeah. Was this when BM was still bugged? This was on October 23rd. So this was like 9 days ago. I think it was. It's the Wednesday, the day after the patch. So I think BM was still bugged, yeah. And we weren't playing Ellie. Ellie was still like fucking absolutely insane. Woo. 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 So Jack has a Mythic Plus manifesto. I think I started watching a minute or two of that the other day. Like off stream. And maybe I stopped because it would have been good stream content. We talk a lot about Mythic Plus on the Potty C this week, I think. But it would be interesting to see his takes on it. You know what Jack did? Jack actually had a crazy fucking good video. And I had never seen it. And it was during the race, I guess. And he got a lot of positive feedback on it, I think. But I just want to shout out a video I watched of him. Yeah, see, I did. I've seen, like, the first, like, minute of this, I guess. But no, where was this? This, dude. How world first Mythic Kaiveza was healed.
There's more stamina.
I think a lot of people don't really understand healing at a high level in this game. Like, why would you not just bring healers that do the most HPS? A lot of it, and especially this fight, was, like, playing very specific specs for single target healing and letting very specific rule... Like, Paladin is better than Shaman on this fight, but it's, like... Evoker is just better at what Paladin is doing, and Shaman does something different that we needed, and like that's why we made that swap. And a lot of people don't understand that, and he really broke it down well in this video. I watched almost all of it, and you can see in the comments they're like, dude, awesome analysis, amazing video. And I think the healer community, or the amount of people that watch this, which it got a pretty good amount of views, it was like really helpful to know like how healing is done at this level and why, which was really good. Is he still doing the crazy thumbnails? Yeah, he is. Look at this shit. Okay, yeah, there's that one. That's good. He does... His thumbnail game is crazy. Look at that. That's him, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, that face is fucking wild. I'd listen to healers about Mythic Plus if 2 of them could ever agree on anything about it. I think it's like the whole Mythic Plus community, honestly. Like, I don't even think it's their fault, but like they just like they've had all these like changes that they haven't liked over the last few years. And most of it, now that we know, like Blizzard didn't even like high Mythic Plus players. Like Blizzard never thought about them one time. But like I feel like they deep dived every change that was made thinking it was aimed at them. And I think that just drove them crazy. And now like I don't think it's possible for the Mythic Plus community to have like a normal response to anything getting released. They just have to like go through the motions of like absolutely melting down, and then they like think about it a little more, and then I mean that's probably like most WoW people, but like the Mythic Plus community is so they just have like little brother syndrome, you know? They feel like they're disregarded in place of raid, and they have to like fight for everything they have, so they're like super loud, and like every change is so important. Like another thing is like they asked for Kiss Curse affix, not everyone, but like people are like, let's do Kiss Curse affixes, and now they come out and people are like, oh well, we wanted no affixes, and well wait, when the affixes are totally gone, and it's just like no one actually, there's just so much opinions coming from different directions. Like Blizzard just has to like cook on the mode themselves and make it better. We talk about that a little bit on the potty. You know what, let's watch this Jack video.
Got into a hot. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack. Going into the War Within, they made really big changes to Mythic Plus, and Challenger's Peril being one of them. I think they really have missed the mark in terms of what they're actually kind of doing to the player base in the process.
Wait, with the change? Or I think he means like when they introduced Challenger's Peril in the first place. I'm with him there. The change was... I've heard a lot of weird takes about the change. They're like, it should have been this. They're basically, the most reasonable arguments are like, they could have done this and it would have been better. And they're like suggesting a different change. But I don't think anyone's suggesting that like them doing this change was actively bad. Like, I think Dorky tried to get around to saying some shit like that on the podcast. And both Dratnos and I, or maybe it was the bonus episode. But Dratnos and I are both like what? It was some weird shit. I don't know. You could tell that like he had talked about it with his chat a lot, I think, and they like convinced themselves that this was actually bad, which this is just objectively better for like anyone doing Mythic Plus than what it was previously. Not to say that they couldn't like completely remove Challenger's Peril or change it slightly differently. This is definitely a W, right? Just a lot of people are timing keys more often. The retroactive thing was also super interesting. I don't know if you guys noticed it when they changed this, but like you would have logged in with more score because any key that you would have timed with 90 more seconds, like automatically got counted as timed, like retroactively. But at the same time, if you didn't time a 10 previously, but then you did retroactively, you actually didn't get the portal. You had to like go back in and do it. It's kind of weird.
So in Dragonflight, there were a lot of times, especially...
What is it? It'd be better if they were free deaths instead of the timer change, but I imagine there are programming challenges there. Yeah, so I think you're right. Like I imagine that's just a harder change to implement. Like just increasing the timer is probably piss, right? Like that's just super easy to handle. Relatively. That just sounds that way. I don't really know how hard that would be. Like specifically the first deaths don't matter, or like one death per player doesn't count against the timer. But like how would that even be better? Like Dorky was saying like, oh yeah, well yeah, it spots you free deaths unless no one dies, but if no one dies, then like the key timers are easy, so you naturally get pushed to a higher level that's harder. And it's like that's a high key only problem. Like the only time that argument would ever be relevant is if the reason you're not timing keys is you're having 0 deaths and you couldn't make it, which doesn't affect anyone on a 10 literally ever, right? Like you're not timing an 8 or a 10 because of deaths, not because everyone lived all the way through and you were just slow. Like that's just not real. It's like or maybe it's very uncommon. Like at a high, like it's mostly high keys where that's the thing. But I mean, it's like an infinitely scaling system, like putting you into the next key level. There's a whole other conversation, and we did end up having this where it's like, yeah, it still just feels bad. Like the level where you feel like everything one-shots you and the level that's hard to do damage to time it doesn't add up like it did before Dragonflight. And like that's an entirely different conversation. But like specifically the way that they changed this thing, I don't think it doesn't matter really how they do it, right?
Season 3 and Season 4, running with some of the Exodia comps that you had there, you could really like steamroll keys up into pretty high levels without really respecting a lot of the dungeon mechanics. And so, as they even write right here, they want Challenger's Peril to emphasize precise play and greater risk on player decisions as they progress through higher keystone levels. So they say, hey, we want to give you some breathing room, you know, not make it as punishing, but we still want this initial goal of precise play to come into effect. Now the issue is that
I'll let him finish.
In Dragonflight, you didn't have this penalty, and you could rack up like 20-something deaths in certain dungeons and still time it, which felt really weird for a timed event.
True.
Especially with runbacks involved as well. But a lot of people really enjoyed being able to kind of like steamroll keys up until they got into a high level. The problem was that you would have a really huge mix of players where you didn't really understand if this person with this IO or this person with the same IO actually knew the dungeon mechanics. And so what they've built in the War Within is like this big wall, especially at 12s, where the health, the damage are all really high.
I don't even know if the wall, like most people don't even encounter the wall. Like if you're even, he's referring to the wall as a 12 of like the big jump in difficulty. The thing is like, you already know what kind of player you are, and you know what your goals are if you ever attempt a 12 for any reason whatsoever, right? Like, attempting a 12 is such a deliberate, like, I'm pushing for high key score, maybe for title at the end of the season, or, like, I'm trying to play the game a little bit. Like no person who does Mythic Plus just for the portals or just for their weekly keys, and it's not like Mythic Plus is their main thing, and this is true statistically, too. You can see this has been the case for years, especially since they've added the portals. Like, almost all, 98% of people never even go above the portal level, right? So like those people are not attempting 12s. Like when you're attempting a 12, you're trying to do some high level shit, right? Which is admirable. Love that shit, right? But like that doesn't happen accidentally to someone who's trying to get their weekly keys done. Like it's obvious what you're trying to do if you do that, right? I wonder what he's going to come away with this and say.
Which mainly, so what they've built in the War Within is like this big wall, especially at 12s, where the health, the damage are all really high, which makes the players have to be even better at their classes, even better at their specs, really in order to make it over this wall, in order to really progress. But because of the infinite nature of spamming Mythic Plus, where as long as you can find a keystone, you can just keep on playing the game, you don't really have that improvement that Blizzard's trying to force upon the player base. You kind of just have people smashing face into the dungeons, and as players continue to improve, they also get a lot more exclusive. So way back,
I don't know if I'm really
back
following.
in Legion when Mythic Plus first came around,
Maybe he'll
on
pull
NA,
it together
there was
here.
a pretty vibrant Discord community that was really looking to like get people together to start doing Mythic Plus dungeons. And then over time, that community basically just fell apart because people started getting more and more exclusive. Before the 0.1% title really came along, people realized that there was, a handful of the total player base that they could progress into the highest dungeons. And so it became more about getting onto people's friends lists and getting into that networking to find those elite groups to continue sort of progressing. Now, that kind of got broken up into a bunch of different tiers, not just in the 0.1%, but also in like the 1%, where people would very rarely want to like pug somebody. They'd very rarely want to pug somebody, only kind of play with their friends, and more people started kind of shifting to that over time. This is kind of...
What is it? I think he may be pointing out that players will naturally end up at a plus 10 and up, but just sheer force, not by playing well. Interesting, isn't it? I feel like getting to a 10, maybe this isn't true. We actually kind of talked about this on the podcast recently, but okay. Do you think that doing a 10 this season is the hardest a 10 has ever been? So they have like the increased dungeon mechanics, right? Stuff like does more damage. Okay, a few no's, mostly yeses. On season start, yeah. I've kind of heard... I haven't really heard a lot of arguments against that. Like, it kind of seems like they've amped up the amount of mechanics. They've changed the key scaling system. I guess it's interesting because when you're doing a 10, you don't have... When you're doing a 10, you don't have, like, sanguine and bolstering and shit. But 15 second for deaths is like maybe one of the most punishing things ever for most people who are just trying to get the 10 done the one time. Not to mention that is it the first season we're doing, is this the hardest the key level has been to get the highest loot from your vault as well? So like you have to do a 10 to get mythic track loot. Has it been a 10 in previous seasons to get the best Mythic Plus loot, or could you have done like a 9? Right? it was a plus, was an 8 or so. Like, I think 10 still gave you like a higher, it was, what I'm asking is like when the beginning of the Mythic track started on the weekly vault. Not, I know like 10s I think gave a higher eye level one, but it was still on the same track. It was 8. So like it's an 8 plus there's a 15-second death timer. Plus, I think this seems true, is like objectively the dungeons are just kind of harder because like it just seems like there's more going on and you can't use stops to stop everything. So you're relying on individual players' kicks. If you go lower down the key levels, that's what people really struggle with. So I don't know, it kind of logically makes sense that this would be the hardest that 10s have been, and also by far the hardest the weekly farm get the best gear in the game keys have been. Right? So I could see that kind of having a big impact, because like players that normally maybe even didn't go for the portals now feel like they have to because they just need the gear in general. First time having Tyrant and Fort in the same key as well. Yeah, true. Pepega phone. Doing 20s were totally optional back then. Well, they weren't optional if you wanted the portals, and like I think the portals are like something that the casual community really fucking like. They love the fucking portals. It's honestly a really cool reward. But yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's a checklist thing. Like, you've played WoW for a really long time, and a checklist that you have is, am I like getting the best loot out of the vault I can? Am I mythic rating? No. Well, I can still get mythic track loot if I do some 10s. And you kind of just like weekly no levered them before, but now, and you did less than 10s before, but now you have to do 10s, which have Fort and Tyrant and a 15-second death timer, and there's more mechanics in the dungeons. Like, it's kind of a perfect storm of absolutely slaughtering people, right? It's not surprising. A lot of people have an AOTC plus portals internal checklist. Yeah. I want to let Jack finish up this thought. I'm going to rewind it a little bit.
A bunch of different tiers, not just in the 0.1%, but also in like the 1%, where people would very rarely want to like pug somebody. They very rarely want to pug somebody, only kind of play with their friends, and more people started kind of shifting to that over time. This is kind of what's happening right now in the more than Season 1, from what I've seen, is that dungeons over 12 are having not huge amounts of people looking around in groups in LFG, and you're having a lot of players really just getting like slammed at that 12 level, and it might change a little bit thanks to this Challenger's Peril affix, but I think a lot of people get like really hard gated at the 12 because of the jump up in difficulty and the fact that the game.
I just want to stop him right there. So I think there's been less people doing Mythic Plus in general. That could be the death timer thing, that could be the increased mechanics, but also when you're specifically talking about people doing above 12s, do you think the community is majorly different from people who are doing above 12s now versus people who are doing like 22s through 25s last expansion before they made the change in Season 4? Because both of those scenarios require someone to make the active decision of, I'm doing keys because I want to do high keys, and I'm no longer doing keys for the rewards from it. That hasn't changed at all, right? It's the same thing. So you're basically just saying the high key community is just smaller than it was before, because that decision is exactly the same. Or you're saying that like before, maybe it was a little easier to do your 20s and get your portals, but then maybe you do some 21s with the boys, and no, you've done 21s now, maybe you do 22s, but maybe like the jump at 12 is so big that like that just completely stops those people. I've always just assumed that if you're trying to do 25 pluses, you just know that from the beginning of the season, and like that's your goal, and those people kind of like are already set, you know? Like I don't think a lot of people randomly wander into like what 22s, 23s, and 24s used to be after they got their portals. Or if they did, they had a goal in mind of like getting title, or like they love Mythic Plusing, so they just want a Mythic Plus all the time. But like those people would probably still be doing that now because it's purely based on the gameplay they love, which is still there. And that title is still there, right? I guess maybe there's like, I'm missing a group of people. Like I assume there's a lot of the low-level people, which there might be a bunch of different categories within there, and then there's people who are doing 10s for vault loot, and then there's people who are doing 10s for portals, and that's their goal. They get AOTC, and they're kind of done with the content for the patch. They know their limits. That's fine. And then I see like another group of people that are planning on going above 12 because they like doing high keys. And maybe I'm missing a group in between the 10s for portals and people with high keys as an aspiration. That sounds like what is happening if there's any less people going above 12 than there was that used to go above a 22, because it should be the same. It should be the same. Okay, correct. I am that group at maximum. Okay, that's perfect. Can you tell me why it's big tone? So if you're that group of people, explain, like, advocate and tell me why you do what you do. Like, a person doing 10s goes for vaults and portals. A person who wants to do high keys is going to just do high keys. You're the group in between that. Tell me what your motivation is to do a key above a 10 after you have portals and all the gear you want. Like, what is the reward? Why are you doing it? I'm just trying to, like, understand. IO? But isn't that the same motivation as the high key group people? It's no different? That's why I'm trying to understand the difference. Just for fun? But I think that's also the high key people, or maybe it ends up turning into that. I think that's why those people do it, for fun and for IO. There's no different. Maybe it's like, I want to do 11s and 12s so I get higher. There's a group of people who like doing 10s quickly for loot on the reset, so they do 11s and 12s to get higher IO so they get invited quicker to 10s. I can see that. That's a motivation that actually makes sense to me. Okay, he responded. I want a challenge to enjoy, and I do 12s or so. Like, back then, I liked being able to play at 20, 21, 22, but I didn't want to go nuts chasing title. I just wanted generally harder content, and it no longer feels like there's a ramp in difficulty to do so, and it's a brick wall. Okay, so that makes perfect sense, what you just said. So that is, and I feel like there's probably a lot of people that would agree with that. Okay, that makes sense. So there is a group that in between high keys and just doing 10s, and it's basically just going for a challenge that is challenging for you, and you just like doing that, but now you feel like that challenge doesn't exist because once you're at an 11, it's just like there's no fucking point in doing a 12 because it jumps so much. True. I mean, then you have to ask, like, why Blizzard even thinks that doing, like, why is there a massive jump at 12? I guess it was to, like, clearly define the high keys and the low keys, but it's also probably ruining the chance that anyone could ever get into high keys in the first place because of the wall, you know? Who knows? It's okay, let's see what Jack says.
Game doesn't really teach you how to get better. There's three main factors that you really have to balance in dungeons over 12s. That's doing enough damage, especially with the tank nerfs that were kind of put in this expansion. Tanks don't live forever. They have incredible tankiness. But, you know, when I play with VDH, there's times where if the pack doesn't die in X amount of time as we're trying to do a pull,
just run out.
that he will just melt, right?
Yeah.
Or he has to be forced to kite or something along those lines. The damage checks get really high, especially as you start ramping up in keys over 12. The healing checks ramp up very quickly, as I'm sure a lot of you have noticed from our channel, especially when you're pugging in cast go through. And the third factor is the crowd control element. And so all of these things really get pushed upon you as you go into higher level dungeons. And I would argue, since the War Within has put together, or actually Dragonflight to be honest, has put together all these talent nodes, we have more abilities really than ever before that we have to take advantage of. You have things like kick, obviously, but it used to be that healers didn't actually have kicks. You know, you have all of the crowd control, thunderstorms, stuns. You have a
Oh yeah,
variety
it's
of
so
spell
hard to be a
format.
shaman. Oh, you have so many useful buttons you could press. That sucks.
That's that you have to
Oh man, that
master,
sucks.
and a lot of these are not
Oh.
new, but having all of
I'm
these
kidding.
together is also having Blizzard balance around having all of these things. For example, I know this
You
is
can't.
HPS logs.
It's
but
so funny. Like the Resto Shaman situation this season shows you more than anything how much they have internally changed dungeons. Resto Shamans, as far as I know, don't have fucking anything different that they didn't have last season or the season before in Dragonflight. Like, maybe there's like a cool new talent or something, but that's not why they're meta. Like the people that describe why they're meta, like, oh, Curse Dispel, Poison Cleansing Totem, the amount of stops, they have a stun, they have a knock, they have a really short cooldown kick. They had all of that in the past. The only thing that has changed is what the dungeons require, which has made that feel like a necessity, which has just not been the case before. And that is fascinating in my opinion, because like usually the healer meta is determined by like new cool things this healer has or their tuning level. But that's not even what this is. They have a raid buff now. Bro, I don't think that is what massively pushed them over the edge this much. It's a great raid buff, and they didn't have one before, but, like, I don't know. There's really good raid buffs that aren't in the top group right now, right? Like, I think clearly it's the amount of buttons they have and the ability to deal with what Blizzard has posed with you as a problem. So, like, it's just the new Kiss Curse affixes, which doesn't really exist on high keys, but it's that stuff, and then it's, they just, like, have too many kicks and stops, and they've just made kicks and stops so much more important. But people are running Enhance and Resto? Yeah, which kind of shows you that it's not really about the raid buff, right? It's about the other shit.
Range is really what I want to highlight.
It's also just two really
from
good
these
classes.
Warcraft log statistics is that, you know, you'll see...
It's also that the things that Shaman bring that are super important isn't something that you don't get by bringing another one. It's kind of like why Evokers are super good in Raid, right? Anytime you can find a way to bring another Evoker, you're bringing another Zephyr, a Rescue, you know, you're another Time Spiral, maybe a Spatial Paradox. Like, you're just bringing more value than other people bring past the initial raid buff that they provide. Shamans are kind of like that in Mythic Plus. Like, you bring a second Shaman, yeah, you're not getting Sky Fury or whatever, but you just get infinite buttons per Shaman. That just makes the dungeon easier.
Like this priest have incredibly
and
wide
both of them
ranges.
are just really
Things
strong.
like Totemic Shaman have widely been viewed as easier to play, so they have a little bit of a smaller range. But we never really get data to show the range with which people use their kicks, their stuns, their interrupts, their defensives. There's not these statistics on these things.
Well,
but it really only takes...
There literally are statistics if people log them, but there's just not normal to like log Mythic Plus runs, especially in lower keys. Like I don't know what percentage of keys under a 7 do you think are logged and uploaded to Warcraft logs? It's got to be like insanely fucking low, right? Like, who does that? It's probably not 1%. It's probably a little higher than that, but it's not a lot. So that information isn't really there. I wonder if Blizzard has that information. They do have other ways of getting information than just logs, even though it seems like this expansion they've almost exclusively changed things because of public logs, but they do have like other ways of tuning and like seeing stuff like that. I bet they can see the amount of like something that wouldn't surprise me from what I've seen that they have is like maybe they can just view the amount of kicks that happen on an average +7 versus like a +13 or something. Not like how many casts are going off, like how many times are people casting interrupts. They can like query that, some shit like that, which would be very interesting if more runs were logged for sure.
You pugging a couple of times to realize that there is an incredibly massive delta between people who are using those abilities and people who are not. And since Blizzard designs the game around them regardless, you can have some enormously frustrating experience.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like Anduin. Like, Anduin was a fight that wasn't super, super hard for the high-level guilds, because the higher you go into a guild ranking, the more likely assignments and, like, stuns and kicks, like, that is something that is done at a really high level. Like, if you go down the guild skill level ladder, you'll actually still see relatively good throughput compared to the top teams, but the thing that totally stands out is their ability to be consistent with, like, kick and stop assignments. Like, that is something that is, you've done it a million times, it's ingrained in what you do. So, like, Anduin absolutely slaughtered guilds. And there were guilds that were taking 3 times the amount of pulls on Anduin than happened for World First, which is a really rare statistic that almost never, ever happens on any boss. It only happened on Anduin because it specifically had so many kick requirements and stop requirements. If you missed a kick in P2, your group instantly died. If you didn't kill all the ads downstairs, your group instantly died. If you didn't perfectly stop all of their stuns, like the little souls casting that little 8-second cast or whatever, if you didn't perfectly stop those every time, you instantly died. If you didn't kill the ad before the cast went off in the intermission, instantly died. There's so many little small checks, and that is so hard compared to like just pure throughput, which is what most fights require of you, really, outside of like some basic positioning. And Mythic Plus is kind of like that, right? Like, they have made Mythic Plus more like the challenges that Anduin gave you than they used to be. Like, no matter what the key level is, yeah, okay, well, we need to keep making keys require more because gamers are getting better. It is true, like, as much as people don't would agree with that. I bet if they went back with like Legion style dungeons where just like less was happening and you could just kind of pull everything, I actually think people wouldn't feel challenged enough. I think people want less of a challenge from the pure mechanical things than they do now, for sure. But I also think if you were to scale that back and remove almost all of the challenge from it, I do think that would be a sticking point, just in my opinion. We're not going to really know because they'll probably never do that. But so they are increasing with time because players are just getting better. More people do Mythic Plus. And I think they definitely overstepped this patch from what I can tell. And if you're doing it because high key players are capable of doing it and you hated how much they did stops, do you know how many less stops happen on like a +7 than like a +14? Like if you go into a Pug 8 right now, people are not fucking doing stop rotations on these ads. Like basically all of these casts are going off. And I mean, it kind of brings me back to that thing I've talked about a lot. I wonder how many mechanics Blizzard actually wants you to deal with. It's almost impossible to know. Because if you're in a really good group, you can make none of them happen most of the time. Like sometimes there's like uninterruptible shit. And if you're in a really not very invested group or like a lower group, like everything goes off. So you're not able to curate an exact experience of what you want your players to go through. Like raid bosses, except for very recently where you could use a PvP item to bug them out, raid bosses do mechanics and almost always you cannot just make the boss not do the mechanic. Like they are designing experiences that are dealt with, and every guild that kills the boss does the same thing. But like in dungeons, I don't even know what Blizzard expects a dungeon pack to feel like. I imagine they don't want it to feel like they're all the same and you just stop everything from happening. They probably want every pack to slightly have different mechanics. Like I think it'd be fascinating to make a dungeon just once, just for science, and just make nothing able to be stopped or kicked at all. It would be kind of weird. You have a lot of buttons to stop. It'd be weird you weren't using them, and you have interrupt buttons, and it'd be weird that you weren't using it. But it would be interesting to know from that experiment, what does Blizzard actually want you to deal with? If they could curate a dungeon experience and you could actually see that you don't have to guess and say, oh, in low keys, every single one of these mechanics is happening, and in high keys, none of them are happening. Like, how much do you actually want to happen? Like, what do you think a dungeon pack should look like? And until they do that, it's just so interesting because like every pack just does infinite stuff for some people and some people only. And probably the people it matters the most for are the people going for 10s. It's 98% of players, and I think those are the people who struggle with it the most. But I don't know. We also talked about on the podcast recently of like, could you make people like doing defensives? Could you like reward people for using defensives well so like people get better at it? Dude, one idea we came up with that people would absolutely hate, but it would make people better, is like having certain mechanics in the dungeon if you don't use a personal for them, and it's mechanics that they're not happening every 10 seconds. They happen, let's just say there's like one boss has one cast where you need to have some kind of mitigation for, and like another boss has that, and there's like one mini boss trash pack that has it. And every time you get hit with it without using a personal, it would give you a damage down. You do X% less damage for the next 10 seconds. Now, you're hearing this and you're like, no, this is so fucking bad. And I think people would hate it. But I think after like a couple runs of it, people just care about their overall damage at the end of the dungeon and their damage they do on the packs. People would actually really fucking make sure they had a mitigation personal for those. It's Final Fantasy does this. Final Fantasy, a very different game in Final Fantasy, but it is a concept from that. Like, people do really care about damage. So, like, if people are just mongoing damage, you better fucking believe they'd start thinking about where they're using their personals if they had to. And that would help so much for healing and just making people better. Because the game is kind of telling you what mechanics you should have personals for, and they can design the game that way, right? Obviously, you would need to make it not happen enough to where certain classes can't actually get rid of everyone, but it would encourage better play, and it's a way to reward you. Because we thought about it on the podcast, like other ways to get around it. It's like, oh, well, maybe you could give someone some kind of damage increase for how much damage they absorbed with their, like how much damage they reduced during the cooldown. First of all, I think that'd be really hard to do, but also it's just like vengeance all over again. So you'd have players just like pop all their personals and then just like sit in fire, and that has like so many problems. But like there's almost no issue with the damage downs if they create it well. And it would make people actively think about their defensives better than just like mongoing the dungeon.
Just like in our previous videos where we've talked about the problems with healing in Dragonflight being based off of having so many defensives that you basically have to have a defensive up for every major mechanic in order to survive, so too is the game being designed around all of the additional crowd control that continues to get added over time. Having more resources than ever to unlock all these abilities also means that Blizzard wants to challenge players and make it so that they have to use every single ability in order to make sure you're having more successful runs, or just about, or having like almost all of the people taking advantage of those things. And what you really have noticed over time is that there's not a really good way for the game to teach people how to utilize these mechanics. For example, we had like the Exile's Reach as new players are sort of getting into the game, but since it's not involved in
I want to stop him there a little bit too. I'm like watching this pack and I'm looking at these casts and like a couple of them went off. I think they could, okay, they did something this expansion, right? They made stops less powerful against certain things, which did a few things. Mostly negative, but what it did do is it put a lot of more power in your actual interrupt spells, counterspell, kick, spear hand strike, or whatever, the actual kick spells. And I wonder if they could do a little bit more with, and this would help lower level play. Like, you know how like there's usually like these little nodes right here, and the idea is like, oh, well, if you're kicking a lot, you can use this point and like it'll give you some runic power and it'll reduce your cooldown. And if you're doing like warriors, it'll increase your damage against the target. And shamans have a super fucking broken one. It's like, bro, what is the shaman one again? It's actually so OP. Unless they changed it with the patch. Maybe they did. But the shaman one is like when you kick a certain spell school, you get a DR from it. Interrupting a spell with Wind Shear decreases your damage taken from that spell school by 15% for 18 seconds, stacking up to 2 times. That is so fucking good. That is so good. But I wish they did more of this, and I wish it wasn't talents. I just wish, in general, every class in the game that had a kick, get mad healer priests, got a benefit that people actually cared about. And I think the result of that would be people in dungeons are like, maybe the worst case scenario of this is people are all trying to snipe the same kick from each other because those bonuses are really powerful. But honestly, that's a really fucking good problem to have. Like, I feel like that problem in a lower key, having the problem of people interrupting too much is like so much fucking better than what is happening right now, right? So I don't know. I think that's something to be fucked around with. Like, I actually think that would help a lot in the game.
Is that there's not a really good way for the game to teach people how to utilize these.
What is it? If you hit your kick and it doesn't interrupt something, it shouldn't go on CD. I thought about that as well. It can't get its full cooldown rewarded because then you would just macro it into every spell and that would be like super degenerate. But I actually do think something like if your kick doesn't actually interrupt something, I think it going on half cooldown instead of full cooldown is just good. I think that would actually be really good.
For example, we had like the Exile's Reach as new players are sort of getting into the game, but since it's not involved in endgame content, a lot of people were just kind of...
What is it? I think that just leads to everyone sending their kick on the first cast, and then you miss kicks on everything else for the next 10 seconds. That's possible. I think that is an infinitely better problem to have than the one right now where no one's using it ever in lower keys. I think the success chance on interrupt things killing you would be a lot higher in that scenario.
Skipping ahead, boosting
ahead. It will break PvP, make it not work in PvP.
And then just progressing on.
They have the ability to do that.
The regular game.
PvE and PvP are totally fucking different. Why wouldn't you be able to do that?
I'd also argue since delves have existed, they've sort of made a progression path more focused towards casual players, and the Mythic Plus and like raid environments are really focused towards what I would call competitive players. Like, I think in general a lot of casual players are going to play the game a lot. They might even play as much as competitive Mythic Plus or competitive raid players might, but their emphasis is going to be not so much on let me push out as much damage, as much healing, as much whatever. They still want to improve their gear, right? But there's a different mindset that they have going on. And as a result, since you kind of diverge those player bases a little bit more when it comes to gear progression, in my opinion, it seems like the changes they've been making to Mythic Plus has been that they feel more comfortable adding on more difficulty into these dungeons, just like how the raid devs are consistently making raids more challenging. And I think Nerevar Palace is a really good example of how the raids have gotten steadily more difficult over time. So while we're well into the season right
That's true. And that kind of happens in games. But the Nerebar Palace thing is... I think 2 tiers in a row, they've just really fucked up the feeling of like a wall. Like the Laridar and Naimu and Smolderon being too easy for their spot in the raid, and then Tindral just... The wrong guilds were at Tindral at the wrong time because the bosses before were not difficult enough linearly. And the exact same thing happened this tier. Like, Brood Twister was too hard in general, for sure. But a big problem with Brood Twister was that Rashanan and Sikran were so easy that guilds that should not be on Brood Twister were on Brood Twister before they were supposed to, and that made it significantly harder. And that's something that's weird. That doesn't normally happen. That's not a common error. They don't do that a lot. But they've done it twice in a row, and I find that really interesting.
Right now, I think what we're really going to be looking for is how the difficulty of dungeons continues to sort of branch out, and one of the largest levels of difficulty is just finding a group to begin with that can press their buttons well. And I think the more that you're having the continued sort of bloat with lots of cooldowns, lots of crowd control, lots of defensives, the wider of a range of players that you're really going to be experiencing. And it's also going to start, I believe, turning people off to the game when they start feeling like their progression gets stopped. Now, you might have an entire wide range of
like the wall at 12 definitely matters. Like if you're someone who feels like you can go above an 11 and then the wall at 12 makes you not feel that, and you're kind of where you are, you've already gotten AOTC, maybe you're not in a Mythic guild, you are going to just stop playing the game. Like the gear progression matters, and some people do play just for that. Some people do play just for collecting and stuff like that. But if you are you want all of that to happen simultaneously. That's when WoW is at its best, right? You don't want to be just playing the game to like do your weekly vaults and then just maybe you get a little stronger. You want to apply it to something, which is why people Mythic rate or why people do higher keys. You want to apply that power you're getting to something and make it worth getting, right? That's the best case scenario. And like the 12, I am learning, especially in this video from talking to that guy earlier and some of you earlier, that you just feel like there's nothing to do in the game, you know?
Player base, and then you have a fraction of people who are doing
unable to do it.
15s and up right now.
It's like that Rashanan Brood Twister wall exists in Mythic Plus. It's just a 12.
A little bit larger of a chunk here that's doing 12s, and then you kind of have like the rest of the player base. But what you forget is
I wish they would give something more for getting title. Yeah, they should give you like a fucking $1,000 stimulus check. If you get the Mythic Plus title, they should send you $1,000 American dollars.
Increasing an item level every single week, probably for the next month and a half, until people start getting close to BIS. And as a result, as people get closer to BIS, they're naturally going to progress further in towards 12s. But because the wall is going to be so high with doing 12s, the execution checks are going to be so high, it's going to be a real bear, I think, for a lot of players who want to have steady progression and to be able to continuously overcome things, which is a positive for having a slower gearing process. It's also going to be a negative if the wall itself is so large and the game doesn't do enough to really prepare you for what you're going to experience. For strong players, they're going to continue
$1,000 Walmart gift card, because then no one will cash it. Yeah, it's fucking win-win for everybody. Blizzard's giving out $1,000, and because fuck Walmart, no one will even spend it. Let's fucking go. Save it for a rainy day.
Towards their friends list, look towards
when you need some like one-ply toilet paper or something.
Be less willing to take on unknown people, and for people trying to rise through the groups, well, there's just going to be less groups available doing those 12s, 13s, and onwards, in my opinion, than we've seen.
Max, why don't you make videos talking like this guy? I'm doing it right now. I'm doing that this instant. You mean like why don't I do some off-stream speak right into the camera type shit? I could. I don't know. It's just I don't like the flow as much as doing it on stream and it being less formal. Those videos would probably fucking pop off though if I actually did do that.
Obviously. That's probably my biggest concern, is that when they rise up with that difficulty, players are sort of adapting in a variety of different ways. And part of that is making sure you have...
Jack's a pro. Yeah, he's like a really good caster. I wouldn't be a good caster.
Becoming more exclusive, and that's really where you've seen a lot of the issue with the invite protests that we had a couple weeks ago, was that people didn't feel like they were getting invited. Now, part of that is definitely related to spec balance and how much damage specs do, where some specs are just absolutely crushing others, which naturally makes doing high keys significantly easier if you just kill off everything fast enough. You need less kicks, less defensives, all of that. but it also is going to be relating it to how willing are people to try new players out or try players out. When, hey, this one person has significantly higher eye level, okay, we're just going to be able to bring them in. We know what we're doing. Or people are just not going to be listing at all and then waiting for friends, waiting for network groups to be able to come on.
Max would be the Tony Romo of casters, calling out plays before they happen on a boss. That is not a WoW thing. I don't think I'd be good at casting most things, but let's just say there's some like alternate reality, or let's just say I like no longer am doing the Race to World first. I like fucking retire from that or something. I would be a fucking insane Race to World first caster. Like I'm pretty sure I would be like the very best at that. Not like someone calling out sponsors and shit. I don't know how to do that, but being like analytical about what's happening, I'm pretty sure I would be like the best person at that, just from my experience.
So as I've been
But like I don't know, there's like there's a lot of skill to casting that I don't have that I would have to figure out, but the actual like content of it would be really easy.
The issue is really that they've made these affixes going into the new expansion to be more punishing and to force more precise gameplay upon people before they're going to be able to progress. But the game itself doesn't do much to teach you how to use these resources effectively. The difference between using a damage reduction cooldown before a hit, after a hit, in preparation of that damage.
Dude, do you guys know that feeling? Everyone does this, but like the feeling of taking a ton of damage and then panic using a personal and then taking literally 0 damage during the duration of your personal being up. Oh man, that fucking sucks. I imagine if you're a healer and you see that, you actually get so tilted.
Very, very different, and you know that firsthand as a healer.
I mean, healers do it too.
The amount of kicks, stops, interrupts required, and teaching people about how direct interrupts really are working, well, you need to use add-ons for these things. You need to use third-party resources.
And I'm mad. Look at that. And we're talking about add-ons now.
Which of the mobs in 8 different dungeons
Fucking
are
hate
priorities, understanding
Remove them
what they
from
do,
my game.
downsides of what they do, and it's incredibly brutal. It's a huge skill check for people going into it, and the game doesn't really teach you those things. So what should they be doing instead? Well, I really think, especially when it comes to interrupts, that they should be removing that direct interrupt where you need to actually use a wind shear, use a kick in order to stop a volley cast.
Yeah, it does seem like a failed
And then you
experiment.
should be able to use those AoE crowd control abilities.
But I do
once
like
again.
the idea of interrupts being important and players being incentivized to use them. And I think they already have the idea. It's just not in follow-up talents. It's just build it into the game, man. Make everyone feel like they want to get a kick when it happens. I think the worst case scenario is that everyone's just spamming kick because they just need it so bad. And maybe it shouldn't be that powerful, but I think there's a line in between those two things where people are just kind of naturally interrupting more, and it would help the entire game.
I think the crowd control has gotten really out of hand. The requirements have gotten really out of hand in dungeons, and the punishment is razor high when you're in these pub groups. You can't communicate all of these things unless you are in.
What is it? Yeah, but then in pub groups, you'll have everyone send kick on the first cast they see, and then what? Yeah, that's worst case scenario, but I don't know if you see that happen, just like maybe you'll get used to the second and third cast of things not having kicks up, and then that's when you actually start stunning. Like right now, people don't really know when we're kicking or stopping, but that would actually kind of give you a blueprint to that. You just assume everyone's slamming their kicks instantly in that worst case scenario, so you know that if you do have any stops, that they're actually really important on the next cast.
A lot of players don't always want to get in voice, don't always want to communicate every single little thing that they're doing. They don't.
Cephus was in the game and people didn't all start fighting. Oh, such a good fucking point, by the way. Cephus was really good for almost every class in the game. When it was initially out, it was dog shit, but when they buffed Cephus, it was like, I think it might have been the best dungeon legendary for almost every class in the game, which is probably the most extreme version of what we're talking about, where you kick and get a massive benefit from it. And the opposite worst case scenario thing didn't happen. You didn't have everyone fucking fiending for every kick. At least I don't remember that. But also the game's become more high level since Legion, like a lot. Like people were very, very bad at Mythic Plus and Legion compared to now.
Organization. And it very quickly becomes needed as you're doing dungeons past 12s. So sort of forcing it upon
Max, imagine they take your one entire dungeon with uninterruptible mobs idea and then create a new Xalatath affix that selectively buffs mobs, but also makes them interruptible and gives you a buff for getting the kicks on them while it's alive. Not a bad idea, blow up.
on people makes it a lot harder. I don't really
That's
know
actually
why
kind of a
they
fine
don't
idea.
have an
I don't know why I
affix,
said that,
which is
but
actually
I don't know.
accelerating the cast of mobs. Now, hear me out. I know that sounds insane, but if you have a mob that has a cast time of 1.5 seconds, for example, why is it not like a 5-second cast at like keys below 6? And then at 6, it becomes what you would call the regular level of 1.5 seconds. Why do we not have like insanely slow casts in earlier level dungeons to give people time to see like, oh, that mob is casting. Oh, it might be lethal. Oh, I have to take time. Because really, as players are learning, their reaction times are slower. They're distracted by other things. They're still learning their specs. They're still understanding what's going on. Just having some beers and hanging out with friends.
Yeah, just drinking.
Why is
Fuck
that
it.
not actually allowing you to have a little bit more of an on-ramp? And they say, oh, okay, like, I don't know, past 6 or something. It's the regular sort of cast that they have
Just
going
fucking
on.
get
Better
drunk, though.
alerts or information, really in the game
Just straight up
itself,
get
to
drunk.
tell you about like the strengths or understanding of how you can use defensives. Because, yeah, you could use a defensive like Astral Shift, which is a 40% damage reduction, but if you use it at a proper time, it's basically wasted, right? You know, you could mitigate half of a hit, or you can mitigate 1 or 2 dot ticks, but if you miss the rest of it, or you're already low health or something like that, it's really, really wasted. I think health in general needs to be a lot higher to give healers time to respond to what the burst damage is really doing to the dungeons. And I think we've already seen really big swings in overall healer output in just how you're playing one healer versus another. And that also plays a really big role in like how healer balance is going to be working, what sort of agency that healers have to heal through mistakes and make up for those mistakes, that you can continue sort of progressing through those dungeons. I think what we have right now is a really like simple but brutal way of teaching people to play the game and to force upon them to get better. And for those who are not going to be as comfortable with it, or don't have the time or desire to be going through lots of third-party sites and research and understanding,
Oh my
all
God,
of
I'm
this,
mad.
because it's a freaking video.
Dude, when I hear third party now, I just
It's
fucking, my whole
crazy
body
complicated.
quakes.
I don't think that they need to just
My whole
like,
body just
chop it down
fucking
to 5-button
violently
rotations
quakes.
by any means. But you have
Fuck.
to admit that WoW has gotten incredibly bloated with all of these resources.
Oh,
and when
there's so
they
much
design
bloat.
around it, it
Oh my
becomes
God,
even
defensive
more
bloat.
challenging for people
Oh
to
my
get on
God,
the
I'm
bloat.
mad. I'm
But
mad.
hey, this is just my opinion throughout this video, so let me know what you guys think about. Also, like, what
drink
challenges
some
have you
water.
been experiencing throughout this Mythic Plus season? What I've really seen so far is it seems like there's less groups willing to start posting up in LFG as they start progressing in dungeons, and
There's
I
no
think that
tanks.
it's only going to get
That's kind of always
more
the
and
thing,
more
though.
exclusive, especially at keys over 12s, to find groups and find that sort of community, which makes WoW a great game to play.
W.
And having so much coordination needed in dungeons more than ever before, I think also makes it even harder for new people to start getting into the game and understanding the game, and keep having new players coming into the system to keep it vibrant and fresh. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching.
Vibrant and
Huge
fresh.
love.
Fuck you, man. Come on. What are you saying right now? What are you, come on. Oh, dude's foam rolling. Guys, we got a foam roll. We got a, I'll move chat so you can see it. We got a fucking foam roller right there. That is someone who is stretching. Love a good stretch.
To our
Let's
patrons
fucking
who
go.
make all of this content possible. If you'd like to join and get access to
Who
new
are those
videos,
people?
be sure to check it out in the description.
Who the
down
fuck are
below.
those people? Why did...
Game and understand what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching, and huge love to our patrons who make
Oh, you have a Patreon? What is his Patreon for? Let's check that out. What do I get for being a Jack Patreon sub? It's not here. You don't have a link to your... Oh, here it is. Automatic ads. So, and it's so bright. And it's just the brightest thing ever. Creating the next level of World of Warcraft healer content. For a cleric, you get access to all previous tier rewards. That's the first tier, buddy. Your name or character name at the end of every video is a special thank you. Okay, parasocial shit. Thank you so much for the support. Okay, so give me $5 for fucking nothing. Oh, you get Discord access. That's hype. Early access to new videos. Okay, that actually works. That's $15 a month. Higher contributor recognition. Extra parasocial. Receive healer coaching. Oh, that's actually hype. Receiving healer coaching by submitting your VODs or logs monthly. That is fucking worth. That is worth as fuck. Early access to write-ups. So many people could use help on that. Early access to write-ups. Okay, so tier 2 is worth it. And then tier 3. Why is Max dissing? I'm not dissing Jack. I'm just talking. And the $25 being a bishop. This is the most popular. Okay, so he's made a good Patreon. Because the most popular one is the one where you give him the most money. access to all previous tier rewards, exclusive coaching channel. Get access to my exclusive coaching channel, my Discord, where you get priority access to any and all questions. Damn, that's crazy. Because, like, most people charge $50 for, like, a coaching session, but it sounds like he's doing it for $20. Or maybe they're just not asking for it all the time or something to where that's worth it, because that would be, like, so time-consuming. Like, that's pretty value, honestly. If you're a Patreon, that's probably good value. That includes at least one VOD, log, and UI review a month. That's a lot of work, actually. I would never do that. Thank you so much. Okay, W. All right, makes sense. Makes sense. Patreons are pretty good. I don't even know what I would include in my Patreon. My Patreon would be so shallow and self-serving. It would just be like, there's a $5 tier, and you get absolutely nothing. You can just support me more. That would be sweet. And then, like, there's no more tiers. That's my Patreon. I'll put your fucking name at the end of my video or something. I don't know. Do people care about that? Do people like when you see the name at the end of the video, does that, like, fucking just get you going, you know? Like, that would get me going, dude. Holy fuck. I'd be like, oh my god, that's me. Holy fuck. I know about that shit. Alright. I asked Frank about editing the most recent undercover, and he sent me multiple cooking emojis. So I think that means he sent me this shit. Have you guys ever had someone send you this shit? This GIF goes hard as fuck. Look at this shit. What do you do when you're asking if someone's cooking and they send you this shit? That goes fucking wild when they hit you with that. Fucking cooking that shit up. Move your chat? No. Oh, wait. Why is my chat in the middle of my screen? That is good. That is good. That is good. Maxi has more than 3 tiers of support? Oh, shit. I didn't know that. Josh Strife Hayes has so many patrons that the entire screen gets filled when he shows them at the end of the video. Yeah, yo, the Potty C patrons are going crazy right now, by the way. Potty C patrons we have a lot of those. But I think we've actually been doing really good content. Like, we do a bonus episode after every single podcast now. We do Potty Teas. We did like a life advice recently, and I don't know if that got released. That was actually kind of interesting. That was really good, actually. I can tell we're doing a lot of good stuff for patrons because the amount of effort and time we spend weekly on the podcast has increased significantly. So, did you buy the new $90 mount? Yes, I have, and I don't think I've mounted it yet. I have this one keybound still, and unless I need a mailbox specifically, like, I need the repair guy more than I need the auction guy, so I'm always a regular.
Fine, leave. I was done talking to you anyway.
Max, you need to add a shortcut to the Potty C on your YouTube channel. Frank can do that. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that shit. I hope Frank gets paid enough. I hope so too. I've always given him what he's asked for, but I hope that is enough. Max, what do you think the most broken talent in the game is? Is it going to be possible to answer that question? How do you even fucking know? You'd have to separate it into offensive, defensive. What's the most broken button in the game? Or talent. It's talent, right? Dude, that's just, I mean, that's just like a total meme. Like, you could just say anything. If you did a variety game stream on the Potty C, I would sign up so fast. Yo, 1 second. Do you guys want to play Pico Park or Chained Together? Might do that right now. Be a nice way to end my stream before I go on a little vacation. Hey Max, I got a sister to watch Race World First for the first time this year. She's autistic and she's been playing WoW longer than me. She loved watching you and your boys, and as staying up till 7 a.m. our time watching you. Holy fuck. Kill bosses. So can you give her a shout out? Her name is Hannah. It would be W Hannah. W Hannah. Thanks for the support, Hannah. Let's fucking go. Bro, staying up to 7 a.m. is insane shit. that is like you're either a peak degenerate gamer or you are fucking locked into whatever you're watching. I've done that a few times. I think Severance was one of the last times I did that. I think I watched Severance and like I watched like the 4th episode and it was like 1 a.m. and I just liked it so much I couldn't go to sleep and I just ruined my fucking sleep schedule watching the entire season. But I very rarely do that because I take sleep very seriously. But I was fucking into it. Max, I rewatched the vid where you raided with the dad and his son as a Christmas present. You said that Frank and Dratnos hated each other. Yeah, they do. What is the dynamic now that y'all are on the potty seat? It's still bad. Actually, it's gotten better. I think it was during the podcast last night or the bonus episode where I was like, I think it was the bonus episode where Dratnos was like, we should make Frank's job easier. Frank is great or something. And I was like, what the fuck? I never heard him say that before. I tune in and out this stream almost every day, and it's funny how I've only seen you fly in the city. All right. Okay, so Dranos and Dorky said in general yes, but tonight busy, and Dorky said same. I have an hour before I have to go. All right, well, fuck it. Bad timing. Unfortunate. After you guys left the call, he called me bad words for 10 minutes straight. Oh my god. Like solo? He was just there alone, and he just solo kept his cam and recording on and just slandered you for 10 straight minutes. Bro, that would be insane. You should post that. That's like fucking crazy. You could probably cancel. Actually, is Dratnos cancelable? I feel like he's too nice. Like, could you like what could Dratnos do? I feel like Dratnos has such goodwill with the community. He could do some like really bad shit and get away with it. But I also just wouldn't even believe it. Like, if I, like, woke up one day and on Twitter it was like, Dratnos beat multiple people in the streets with a bat, and he got arrested, I'd be like, no, he fucking didn't. Or I'd be like, yeah, they probably, like, deserved it or something, you know? I'd be a defender. He would have to come out with his political views on stream. I mean, I feel like if he did come out with his political views, like, people would just be like, even if I disagree with you, Dratnos, I respect your thinking. You know? Like, no one would be like, you fucking goddamn. I remember there was a couple of times where I said I thought Elon Musk was an idiot on my stream, and a couple of Elon Musk. There's a lot of gamer Elon Musk fans, and they were just like, I can't fucking believe you said that shit. Like, I'm sorry, man. God fucking damn it. Fuck. It's popular to hate Elon Musk now, though. Yeah. I love that. Max, do you think that classes like Monk need something else to their current kit? Do they suck? I've been a main since Pandaria, and now I feel like I bring nothing to the raid outside of MT, main target, main tank. Are you a main tank? Holy shit, you're not an off tank? Holy fuck. Okay. No, I don't think monks need anything. Unless, are we talking about Windwalker? Oh, Mystic Touch. Yeah, I see. Even Mystic Touch is kind of whatever, but... Yeah, it was weird. Last expansion, monks had like the best raid buff by far. They had 4% avoidance, 8% increased healing taken, and Mystic Touch. It was so broken. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think they need anything in their kit. Like, Windwalker does everything it should do. It just doesn't do enough damage. Like, they don't do enough cleave. Like, Fist of Fury doesn't do enough cleave damage. Like, their whole kit just doesn't do enough cleave damage to compete with other melee. It has nothing to do with design, in my opinion. I think it's just, like, a numbers thing. I don't even really know when it happened. Like, when you popped clones, and then you, like, Strike of the Windlord, Fist of Fury, Rising Sun Kick, Whirling Dragon Punch, Spin on Chi procs, like, for the past, like, 4 or 5 years, you would top AoE in any like, infinite target cap situation for the last, like, infinite time. And now it's just, like, you do that, and every single other melee is doing more than you, right? So it's like, what do I even do? And even now, they're, like, falling off on single target as well. Like, they fixed their secondary stat issues a little bit, but... They just, I don't know. They just, the buttons just don't. I firmly believe it is not a design issue. I actually think playing Windwalker right now is kind of nuts. It's like super good. I fucking love playing Shadowpan and Conduit. Like, they both feel really fucking good. I really like it. It has nothing to do with design, in my opinion. I think it's purely just a tuning thing. Windwalker has always been good at the start, and they fall off because they never buff them. Well, it's not because they never buff them, actually. Windwalker is one of the most buffed specs in the last 6 years. The reason that they fell off was because their stats didn't do anything. Like, Verse was by far their best stat, and that can only mean one thing, because Verse is exactly the same for everyone. If Verse is by far your best stat, it means that your stats fucking suck. It means they fucking suck, right? And this expansion, they actually made haste really good, I think, but like crit and mastery still aren't that good. So it's like, I think it's like haste verse right now, right, or something like that. Maybe it's like haste crit or something. So I don't really know. It's not really the secondaries as much anymore. They actually scale kind of insane. Wait, what? Dude, look, wait, Frank posted in the Potty C channel the one time I called Elon Musk an idiot on a YouTube stream or a YouTube thing, and there were comments. What is it? Oh, Max with a Californian take that Elon's a big idiot. Like, we don't care, dude. The rest of the country, world like him and don't have an issue with him. You've just exposed an opinion that's like a fish in water analogy. I think Elon is an idiot is such an arrogant take. You can disagree with him, but he's objectively more intelligent than most humans. He can speak intelligently with his Neuralink, SpaceX, and Tesla engineers about their respective fields. Yeah, there's definitely not a lot of people who've left those companies and they were like, that guy was the absolute worst and had no idea what he's talking about. That for sure hasn't happened. I liked listening until you started bashing Elon. He's smarter than all. Dude, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, these are insane things to read. It's like you're reading some cult shit. He's just exactly what, and I don't mean to like really slander these people, but like he's exactly what a dumb person thinks a smart person sounds like. And it certainly doesn't help that he owns a fucking rocket company and is like super and is the CEO of a super cool electric car company. I own a Tesla. I fucking love that car, right? But yeah, he like bought all those companies, didn't invent any of that shit, and there's a lot of anecdotes of people who worked with him that are like, that guy is the fucking worst and has no idea what he's talking about. I think a good gauge of people is like, if you were to ask if you want to know about me, you would ask one of my raiders about me, like unprompted, not on stream where they get in trouble for whatever they say, like just what one of my players right now thinks of me, right? Like someone of what, like if you're in Elon's case, like your employees, what their opinion of you is like super important to me. But also it doesn't really matter because like now it's like become political because like he's
fully endorse Trump. So if you say that whole group of people is like probably super defensive. But I also think those were the people who were big fans of him to begin with. I don't think that's like a new thing, but. Yeah, it's actually so true. Like, I feel like if Elon never spoke, he would just be so well respected because people would just assume his intelligence and his like accomplishments and stuff. But like the talking hurts him real bad. Why is dumb a banned word? Wait, dumb's a banned word? Let me try that shit. Wait, it probably doesn't auto mod me. I feel like dumb works. Dumb was? Wait, typing dumb twice was auto modded? Oh, you allowed it, so it held it for review and you allowed it. So now the channel knows that dumb is a is an okay word. Yeah, because dumb is pretty divisive, so it's good that it asked beforehand. Like, I could have just been streaming all day and then someone calls me a dumb and then I just absolutely lose it. I'm so fucking tilted. That's a crazy... Dude, I will say, though, like, I think when you're a baby, calling someone a dumb is, like, one of the worst things you can call them. Like, that is a very high-tier insult. Like, if you're in, like, kindergarten or some shit and some kid hits you with a "you're a dumb," bro. You are having a bad day. My cousin called some guy a stupid head and got in trouble. Oh, stupid head goes crazy, too. Yeah, you are fucking cooking if you call someone a stupid head when you're a kid. Poopy head? Oh, my God. Get the fuck out of here. You might as well just go home. Just call your mom, go home. Waterhead? Bro, did you guys ever grow up around people who called water water? Or they called a washing machine a washing machine? I think it's like a very distinctly southern dialect thing in America. But I don't know exactly which states it is. It's not all of the South at all. It's like a very specific... like, I definitely met people in Kentucky who said that. Dude, you want to know what my dad does that I find super interesting? Actually, a couple of my guildmates have... Oh, shit, I was supposed to add that overlay thing. Dude, it keeps getting fucked up when I change my... So I gotta add some shit. I got like a liquid sponsor rotator I'm supposed to add, and for some reason it just stops working and I have to re-enable it. But let me tell you, people are not happy about it one fucking bit. So we're gonna enable that shit right now. And then all of you guys are gonna love all of the sponsors that it promotes to make up for it. Alright, here we go. No, it's not that. Is it this? No, it's a factor thing. I think it's that. I'm just going to double check the link, though. Oh, that's a very different link. Overlay. Yeah, what's that? Is that going to work? Oh, there it is. Yo. W. Right there. Look at that. Oh, I love Alienware. Look at that QR. Go to that QR code right now. I bet it gives you a free car. Oh yeah, so something my dad does. My dad has this habit of like completely morphing his accent to whoever he's talking to. And I have this vivid memory of a plumber being at our house who had a very deep southern accent. And like my dad would be like, hello, sir, like whatever, let's go and I'll show you where the leak is. It's in the basement. And then he came up from the basement and was like, I mean, yeah, you guys could come back down here like next week. That would work. And I'm like, Dad, you don't talk like that, dude. Like, what are you fucking doing? Code switching? But I don't think he's doing it on purpose. Like, I think it's like purely done subconsciously. And I was like, dude, does that guy? I wonder if that guy's mad about that, or like, does he know? Because like, he didn't talk like that when he came in the house. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like, the reason you're doing it, even if you're the person that it's being done to, you're not. What are you doing, buddy? Are you trying to play with the acorn? I can get you the acorn. He's not, like, even if you noticed that someone was doing that to you, I think the reason they're doing it is because they want you to feel more accepted. Like, they're trying to meet you on your level in a way. Like, it's like a kind of a, like, it's not meant bad. It's like a considerate thing almost, I think. Reptar, come here, buddy. Reptar. Reptar, dog. Reptar, come here, buddy. Does he do a stereotypical Asian accent when ordering food or something? No, no. I've never seen him do it like cross-culture, really. It's more just like talking to other white dudes. And he's done it to like a Seattle, like super northern accent too. Yeah, if you do it with other cultures, I think that could get out of hand really fast. Like, imagine you're talking to like, you know, something very different, like an Indian or like Chinese accent or something. That would be like very racist. Right? Isn't that like a neurodivergent masking thing? Bro, what the fuck are you talking about? What? You're saying all kinds of stuff. I don't know what you're saying. No, I think I know what neurodivergent means. I think I am neurodivergent. But I don't. What does masking mean in that case? I think I'm gonna try to play. I think I'm gonna try to play that Dragon Age game again tonight and see if I can get into it off stream. Actually, I don't know. There's some. I can't even. Oh my god. I'll just say, like, I just remembered some of the DEI stuff, and now I'm just, like, enraged, so I don't know if I'll be able to focus when playing the game. Makes me so fucking mad when people go woke. Fuck. Fuck. It's where you hide your neurodivergence. You're basically pretending to be normal. Copying accents can be part of that. Oh, I see. I wonder if you would still pick up mannerisms from other cultures. I mean, I kind of have done that. Like, I remember we raided with Now, and he has, like, a very Swedish accent, and I, like, kind of had some EU Swedish mannerisms, I think, when I was raid leading. My guild used to make fun of me for that. I remember I binge watched Doctor Who for a week. Dude, I haven't watched much Doctor Who. I had an ex-girlfriend that was super into it, and she made me watch a few episodes, and they were fucking amazing. Like the Leonardo da Vinci one. That one, I don't know if you guys know that episode. I think it's like one of the highest rated episodes of that show, and I went and looked at it, but that was fucking really good. I'm also just a big fan of a lot of the actors that were the Doctor at one point. Like Matt Smith and David Tennant.
Was it Van Gogh? Oh, maybe it was Van Gogh. Yeah, my bad. The other one. The other fancy artist guy. The Stone Angels one? Yeah, that shit is scary. I remember seeing that shit. I don't know if it was the first one with the Stone Angels, because I think there's been multiple that I've seen, but like the very first one was terrifying, actually. As a Dutch person, Van Gogh hurts to hear. How is it supposed to say? Is it Van Gogh or something like that? How do you say that shit? 1 second. How do you say Van Gogh?
Oh, and in England we've settled for Van Gogh, but he was Dutch, and I've spent hours with Dutch people trying to get this right. It's something like Van Gogh.
Nope. I'll be calling him Van Gogh for the rest of my life. Sorry. I'll never say what that guy just tried to say. That is fucking absurd what he just did. Nope. Van Gogh. Van Gogh. You know what I mean? Dude, holy fuck. How do I make up for me keeping this sponsor rotator off for so long? I think I have to make it huge. Dude, can I even make it even bigger than that? Oh yeah, I have to... Okay, there we go. Now I just gotta position it. There we go. Let's fucking go. That's how you make up for it, baby. Just make it the whole screen. Do you still play Shark Shoes? Bro, I don't think I've played Shark Shoes since Shadowlands. I don't even think I leveled him in Dragonflight. Maybe I did. I think I did. It was looking... I think I leveled him before Season 3, because, like, rogues looked like they were getting a bunch of shit. But yeah, I haven't played Shark Shoes in a long time. But I do like my rogue. Max, I forget Max streams on both platforms because he straight up ignores YouTube. No, I fucking don't. I've read some YouTube stuff today. Someone posted that exact thing over there. Was that you? And then you came and posted it over here? I fucking love that. What's up, YouTube? What's up? I'm about to go out of town for 5 days. What's up? What's up? Fucking love some YouTube. I'll actually have some YouTube content releasing, like actual content over the next few days. Actually a lot, I'm pretty sure. Like there's like 3 videos that are planned to go up. Wait, you're leaving tomorrow? Yeah, I'm going home for a few days. Yo, are you going on the run for 5 days? The feds found you finally? What would the feds have to find me for? What would I have done? I'm kind of a bitch. I think the only thing I would do is like some crazy tax evasion, maybe. That would go hard. I've never done that yet, but I could get into it. I could convince myself to evade the taxes. Maybe some cult stuff, yeah. I thought the title was a joke. What? My title is Flopping Leaving Town Tomorrow. What would be the bit? I'm just making that up. I mean, yeah, I guess. You're fucking lying, man. W. See, I won't be live on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. I will be live Wednesday, maybe. That sounds about right. I'll be getting back Tuesday night. I'm looking forward to it. Dude, you know when I go home, what I really look forward to is going to places that like food. I think of food. Like I just want to eat. Like this is going to sound so stupid. There's like a burrito place there. And it's really like no better than even like Chipotle or Qdoba or something, but it's just I just crave it so much. And it's the first thing I do when I go there every time. I don't even bother telling you the name because I don't even think it's special. It's just like, feels like home, you know?
Max, I got YouTube shamed on your stream because I said I prefer YouTube on my phone because it doesn't lag. You are the problem. What? What are you talking about? Who shamed you? It wasn't me, and it's not my fault that this shit lags on Twitch. Why am I getting slandered? I didn't do anything. Come on, mate. Come on, mate. Okay, I peek over to YouTube, and someone named Matthias says, "Ah yes, Liquid is a known religious group that gathers about once every 6 months to perform rituals for like 2 to 3 weeks straight." Bro, what is going on over there? What are you guys cooking up? What are you guys cooking up? Come on, man. We're our own ecosystem. So true. I'm definitely going to head out, though. I'm definitely going to chill out for a few hours. I'm going to stretch a little bit. Maybe take a little ICB. I'm going to play some Dragon Age. And then I'm going to pack. I'm going to try to sleep a little early. I watched a YouTube video about sleep recently. And what I used to do is if I could only sleep for like 2 to 3 hours, I would just stay up so I'm super tired on the plane. I learned that that's like very, very fucking bad for you. And even if you can only sleep for 2 to 3 hours, that is significantly fucking better than staying up and like roughing out the whole day. So I'll be trying to go to sleep a little early at least if I can. Waking up will be a pain. And then I have to take my dogs to the boarding place. They love their boarding place, so it's not like a boarding facility. It's like a doggy daycare that you can board your dogs at. So it's basically they just get to run around and play with dogs all day while I'm gone, which is hype. What breed are your dogs? I have 2 Great Danes, and then I don't know. Reptar's just like a dog. He's got a lot of stuff going on. He is a dog, though. I would maybe bring Reptar or something home, because I think it'd be easy to travel with Reptar. My other dogs are just too big. But Reptar is like a hound dog, and my mom and dad have 2 cats, and I'm pretty sure he would hunt them for sport. So that wouldn't be good. We wouldn't want to do that at all. All right. Cool. I'm gonna go away for 5 days. So while I'm gone, make sure to watch the Potty C over and over and over again. And yeah, that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoy the MDI this weekend if that's something you're into. I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. Maybe some of you guys were wanting to have me co-stream it. I'm just like, I don't even know why. I just don't fucking care. Like, just nothing about the MDI sounds interesting to me. So I probably won't be doing that this week, next week, or the week after. Make sure you guys go vote. Hopefully that's not a super controversial thing if you are living in America right now. I feel like it's your civic duty. You got to let people know. Even though our country has this weird ass shit where your vote might not matter. But it might, so do it. You know, do all that shit. And then also blow up that as well. Cool. I'll see you guys in a week. Woohoo! Goodbye.